The sky above Montana turned an unusual shade of purple as the Galaxian spacecraft limped through Earth's upper atmosphere. Inside the damaged vessel, alarms blared and emergency lights flashed red across the metal walls. The ship's engine coughed and sputtered, sending vibrations through the entire structure. Captain Tejo gripped the edges of his command chair, his four-fingered hands turning pale blue with effort. His large eyes blinked rapidly as he processed the flood of warning signals on the main screen. "Status report," he demanded, voice steady despite their dire situation. His first officer, Murrow, tapped frantically at her console. "Engine failure at 87%, Captain. Life support systems will fail in approximately 9 hours. We don't have enough power to reach the nearest outpost." Tejo's antenna drooped slightly, the only sign of his distress. "Options. There's a planet nearby," said the navigator, pointing to a small blue dot on their star chart. "Primitive technology, but they appear to have achieved industrialization. No official contact has been made with this species." Captain Tejo stared at the screen. Contact with undeveloped worlds was strictly forbidden by Galaxian law. Breaking this rule could end his career if they survived to face judgment. He thought of his crew, 22 lives depending on his decision. "Prepare a distress signal," Tejo ordered. "Translate our engine schematics into basic visual formats. Perhaps these Earthlings can help us." Down on Earth, rain pattered against the metal roof of Han Su's repair shop. Located on the outskirts of a small Montana town, the building looked ordinary from the outside. Faded sign, oil stains on the concrete, pickup trucks parked in the lot. But locals knew this wasn't just any repair shop. Han Su could fix anything. Tractors that other mechanics gave up on, antique radios that hadn't played in decades, complex farm equipment with parts no longer made. They all worked again after passing through her hands. Inside, Han Su looked up from the engine she was rebuilding. A small woman with practical clothes and hands marked by years of mechanical work. She pushed her safety glasses onto her forehead. Something felt different in the air. The old computer in the corner of her workshop, the one she mainly used for ordering parts, had started beeping loudly. "Do-Jun," she called to her assistant. "Is that computer supposed to make that noise?" Do-Jun emerged from the storage room, wiping grease from his hands. Tall and lean with an easy smile, he had been Han Su's right-hand man for 5 years. "No," he said, walking to the computer. "That's weird. I didn't even know it could make that sound." The screen flickered, then displayed a series of diagrams, unlike anything they had ever seen. Complex schematics filled the screen, metals with atomic structures they didn't recognize, energy conduits shaped in impossible ways, mathematical equations that didn't follow Earth physics. "What am I looking at?" Han Su whispered, leaning closer to the screen. Do-Jun shook his head slowly. "I don't think this is from here." A text box appeared at the bottom of the screen with simple words. "Help needed. Engine damage. Can you repair?" Han Su and Do-Jun looked at each other. Neither spoke for a long moment. "This is someone's idea of a joke, right?" Do-Jun finally said. Han Su studied the diagrams more carefully. "I don't think so. Look at these designs. They're completely original. The materials, the energy flow. It's like nothing I've ever seen, but it makes a strange kind of sense." She touched the screen, enlarging one section. "See this part here? It's like a fuel injector, but it's working with some kind of energy I don't understand. And this," she pointed to another area. "This looks like a cooling system, but more advanced than anything we have." Do-Jun's eyes widened as he began to understand. "You think this is not from Earth?" "Yeah, I do." Han Su reached for the keyboard and typed, "Who are you?" The response came immediately. "Ship Starwinder. Galaxian merchant fleet. Damaged near your planet. Need repairs." Han Su's heart raced. After a lifetime of looking up at the stars and wondering, here was proof they weren't alone. And they needed her help. "Can you fix it?" Do-Jun asked quietly. Hansu studied the diagrams again. Many components were beyond her understanding, but the basics, energy transfer, heat management, mechanical motion, these were principles she understood in her bones. "I think I can figure out enough to help," she said. "We might not have their materials, but we can improvise." She typed back, "I'll try to help. Send more details about damaged parts." New schematics flooded the screen, alongside a translation key that matched alien components to rough Earth equivalents. Hansu printed everything, spreading the papers across her workbench. "We'll need to adapt car parts, maybe some appliance components," she muttered, already lost in the problem-solving process. "The principles are similar, even if the technology is different." Outside, the rain stopped. The clouds parted to reveal a strange light in the sky, too steady for a star, too large for a planet. "They're waiting for our answer," Dojun said, looking out the window. Hansu nodded, making quick notes on the diagrams. "Tell them we'll help. Ask for coordinates where we can deliver the repairs." While Dojun typed their response, Hansu gathered tools and materials. Her mind raced with possibilities. This would be the most challenging repair job of her life. And the most important. The computer beeped again. Coordinates appeared on screen. A location in the mountains, about 50 miles away. "We'll need to use your old plane," Hansu said. "Can it make the trip?" Dojun nodded. "If you're really doing this, I'm coming with you." Hansu looked at her assistant, her friend, and smiled. "Of course you are. We're about to make history, or at least save someone who's a long way from home." As night fell over Montana, lights burned in Hansu's workshop. Inside, two humans worked to solve an alien problem, bridging the gap between worlds with nothing more than tools, determination, and the universal language of machinery. Sunrise found Hansu hunched over her workbench, eyes red from staying awake all night. The alien schematics covered every surface of her workshop. Dojun slept briefly on the old couch in the corner before waking to bring fresh coffee. "I think I understand the problem," Hansu said, tapping a diagram with her pencil. "Their engine uses a material called ziritium that doesn't exist on Earth. It handles heat transfer between the cooling system and the main power core." Dojun rubbed his eyes. "So we can't fix it." "I didn't say that." Hansu smiled, the kind of smile that had solved countless impossible problems before. "We just need to think differently." She pulled out an old microwave from her junk pile and began dismantling it. "The magnetron in this might work if we modify it. The principles are similar, even if the materials are different." Dojun looked doubtful but started helping. By midday, they had a workshop table covered with parts from cars, kitchen appliances, and farm equipment. "This copper coil from Mr. Kim's tractor might work for the energy transfer system," Hansu said, carefully bending the metal. "And these heating elements from old toasters could replace their thermal regulators." Through the computer, they received messages from the Galaxian ship. The aliens watched their progress through a camera Hansu had set up, and their confusion was obvious. "Why are you using food preparation devices to repair complex spacefaring technology?" One message read. Hansu laughed and typed back, "Because they work. Different paths can lead to the same destination." Aboard the damaged spacecraft, Captain Tejo watched the humans' efforts with growing concern. "They're using primitive heating devices to replace our quantum thermal regulators," he said to his engineer, Nabi. "This will never work." Nabi studied the humans' work with 6 eyes blinking in sequence. "Their approach is unusual, but the basic principles show understanding. I cannot explain how, but their solution might function." Tejo's antenna twitched with doubt. "We're risking everything on these creatures who have never left their own atmosphere. Perhaps we should conserve power and wait for a Galaxian rescue." "The nearest patrol is 14 days away," Captain reminded his first officer. "Our life support will fail long before then." Tejo sighed, a whistling sound through his breathing slits. "Continue monitoring the humans. Prepare evacuation protocols if necessary." Back in the repair shop, Word had gotten out about Hansu's special government project. In small towns, secrets rarely stayed secret for long. People noticed the strange lights in the sky. They saw Hansu printing unusual diagrams. Questions spread. Old Mrs. Park from the hardware store stopped by first. "Hansu, my dear, I heard you need special materials. Is there anything in my inventory that could help?" Hansu hesitated, but knew they needed more supplies. "Actually, I could use copper wire, the thinnest you have, and any strong magnets." Mrs. Park didn't ask questions, just nodded and left. She returned an hour later with everything Hansu had requested, plus some items she hadn't thought to ask for. Then came Mr. Lee from the junkyard with a truck full of scrap metal. "Heard you might need some unusual parts. Take whatever helps." By evening, a steady stream of townspeople arrived, each bringing something that might be useful. No one knew exactly what Hansu was building, but they trusted her, and the excitement of being part of something important spread through the community. The high school science teacher brought rare earth magnets from the lab. A farmer donated parts from an old satellite dish. The owner of the electronics store brought circuit boards and soldering equipment. "I don't understand," Do-jun said as they sorted through the donations. "We didn't tell anyone what we're doing." Hansu smiled as she tested a motor from a washing machine. "They don't need to know. This is what community means, helping without needing all the answers." Working through a second night, Hansu created something that looked nothing like the Galaxian engine, but followed the same principles. Car alternators connected to modified microwave parts. Copper coils wrapped around magnets in precise patterns. Kitchen pressure cookers repurposed as containment vessels. It was ugly, mismatched, and brilliantly functional. On the alien ship, the engineers watched in stunned silence. "They're using controlled magnetic fields generated by rotating vehicle parts to replicate our quantum alignment system," Nabi explained to the captain. "It's crude but potentially effective." "Will it work?" Captain Tejo demanded. Nabi's multiple arms gestured uncertainty. "By all established engineering principles, no. But there is a 22% chance they have discovered an approach our sciences never considered." Tejo looked at the life support readings, dropping steadily, then back at the screen showing the humans working tirelessly. 22% is better odds than we currently have. Dawn broke on the third day. Hansu connected the final wires to their makeshift repair unit. It hummed with energy, gauges showing steady readings. "I think it's ready," she said, voice hoarse from exhaustion. Do-jun checked their notes one final time. The aliens said this should generate a specific energy signature if it's working correctly. Hansu held her breath as she adjusted the final settings. The device glowed, vibrated slightly, then stabilized. A small meter she had connected showed the exact energy pattern the Galaxians needed. "We did it," she whispered. She typed a message to the waiting spacecraft. "Repair unit complete. Ready for delivery to your coordinates." The response came quickly. "Acknowledged. Our sensors detect the correct energy signature. We are surprised and grateful." Hansu looked at the strange collection of Earth technology they had assembled, parts never meant to travel to space or save alien lives, and felt a surge of pride. "Let's get some sleep," she told Do-jun. "Tomorrow, we deliver this to the stars." Outside, the small town continued its morning routine, unaware that within their community, the impossible had just been accomplished. Humanity's first contribution to interstellar relations sat on a workbench in a rural repair shop, built from toasters, car parts, and the stubborn creativity that defined their species. The morning air was crisp as Hansu and Do-jun loaded their makeshift repair device into Do-jun's old crop duster. The small yellow plane had seen better days, but Do-jun had kept it running through sheer determination. Much like the alien repair they had created, the plane was a patchwork of parts that somehow worked together. "Are you sure this thing will fly?" Hansu asked, eyeing the worn seats and faded control panel. Do-jun patted the side of the plane affectionately. "She's never let me down." Besides, we're only going 50 miles into the mountains. They strapped the repair unit securely to the floor behind their seats. The strange device hummed softly, a mix of car parts, kitchen appliances, and donated electronics all working together to create an energy signature that matched what the aliens needed. Han Su checked her map again. The coordinates pointed to a remote area in the mountains, away from hiking trails and cabins. Smart, she thought. The aliens had chosen somewhere they wouldn't be easily spotted. As they prepared for takeoff, Mrs. Park from the hardware store arrived in her pickup truck. "I brought you some sandwiches and coffee," she said, handing them a paper bag. "For your government project." She winked. "Thanks," Han Su said, feeling guilty about the deception but grateful for the support. Once airborne, Do Jun guided the plane over forests and farmland toward the mountains. Han Su couldn't help wondering what awaited them. Would the aliens look like humans? Would they be dangerous? The messages had seemed peaceful, desperate even, but first contact was a big step for humanity. There, Do Jun pointed ahead to a small clearing on a mountain ridge. "Those are the coordinates," Han Su gasped as they flew closer. The Galaxian ship sat in the clearing, its metallic surface gleaming in the morning sun. It was smaller than she had imagined, about the size of a city bus, with an oval shape and no visible windows. The ship's surface had strange patterns that seemed to shift color as they approached. "It's really real," Do Jun whispered, his hands tight on the controls. He circled once before landing in the grassy area near the ship. As the engine sputtered to silence, they sat for a moment, gathering courage. "Ready?" Han Su asked. "No," Do Jun replied honestly, "but let's do it anyway." They climbed out of the plane and unloaded their repair unit. As they approached the ship, a section of the smooth hull suddenly slid open, revealing a doorway. Han Su and Do Jun froze. 3 figures emerged from the ship. They walked on 2 legs like humans, but that's where the similarities ended. The Galaxians stood about 5 feet tall with thin bodies covered in a smooth pale blue skin. Their heads were slightly larger than human proportions, with 4 large eyes that blinked independently of each other. Instead of hair, they had short antenna-like structures that moved slightly as they walked. Han Su heard Do Jun make a strange sound beside her. Half gasped, half laughed. "Hello," she said, finding her voice. "We brought your repair." The middle Galaxian stepped forward. "I am Captain Taejo of the merchant vessel Starwander." His voice sounded slightly mechanical, probably translated through a device. "You are the repair specialist who contacted us." "Yes, I'm Han Su, and this is Do Jun." The aliens stared at them with obvious surprise. One whispered to another in a musical language filled with clicks and whistles. "Is something wrong?" Han Su asked. "We did not expect." Captain Taejo paused, seeming to search for words. "Your physical form is unexpected. You appear very solid." Do Jun raised an eyebrow. "As opposed to what?" "Liquid." The third alien, wearing what looked like a uniform with more markings, stepped forward. "I am Nabi, chief engineer. We expected beings of pure energy, based on the power signatures we detected from your planet. Physical beings rarely develop the technical skills you demonstrated." Han Su couldn't help but laugh. "We're definitely physical. And we brought physical repairs for your ship." She gestured to their device. The Galaxians approached it cautiously, their antenna twitching in what Han Su guessed might be confusion. "This is," Captain Taejo began. "Not what you expected." Han Su finished for him. "It doesn't look like your original part, but it generates the same energy pattern. We had to improvise with Earth materials." Nabi circled the device, 4 eyes blinking rapidly. "You created quantum field stabilization using. What is this?" "That's a microwave magnetron connected to a car alternator," Han Su explained. "And those containers are pressure cookers from my kitchen." The aliens looked at each other, their antenna now standing straight up. "You cook food in parts of this device?" Nabi asked. sounding horrified. Not anymore, Dojun clarified quickly. They're just containers now. Captain Tejo gestured toward the ship. Please bring your device inside. Our systems detect the correct energy signature, but installation must follow proper protocols. Han Su and Dojun carried their repair unit into the ship. Inside, the walls glowed with soft light, and the air felt strangely thick. Strange symbols floated in midair, and the floor hummed beneath their feet. This is amazing, Dojun whispered, looking around in awe. They followed the aliens to the engine room, where warning lights flashed around a damaged section. Several more Galaxians stood at control panels, their fingers moving across symbols that appeared and disappeared in the air. Place the device here, Nabi directed, pointing to an empty platform. Then step back. Our systems will complete installation remotely. Hansu set down the repair unit but didn't step back. Actually, I need to connect it manually. There are adjustments that need to be made during installation. The engineer's antenna curved forward. That is not our protocol. No one touches the core systems directly. This isn't your usual part, Hansu explained. It needs human adjustments. Captain Tejo and Nabi exchanged looks, then spoke rapidly in their language. Finally, the captain nodded. Proceed, but be careful. The energies involved could be dangerous. Hansu smiled. I've been working with dangerous equipment all my life. She knelt beside the repair unit and began connecting wires to the ship's systems, following the schematics she had memorized. The Galaxians watched in what appeared to be horror as her hands directly touched components and adjusted settings. You physically contact the machinery? Nebi asked, sounding both disgusted and fascinated. Dojun nodded. How else would you fix things? Through system interfaces, the engineer explained. Direct contact is primitive and dangerous. Hansu continued working, making fine adjustments as readings changed. Sometimes you need to feel how a machine is running. Computers can't tell you everything. As she completed the final connections, the repair unit hummed loudly, then settled into a steady rhythm. The warning lights on the ship's panels gradually changed from red to green. Energy levels stabilizing, announced one of the Galaxian crew members. Core temperature returning to normal parameters. Captain Tejo's antenna straightened with what might have been relief. It appears your unconventional approach has succeeded. Hansu stood up, wiping her hands on her jeans. Sometimes the unconventional way is the only way forward. The humans and aliens looked at each other across a gulf of different worlds and different ways of thinking. But in that moment, they shared something universal: the satisfaction of a problem solved and a ship saved from destruction. Aboard the Starwander, Nabi stared at the readings on the control panel with all four eyes wide open. The ship's engine wasn't just working again, it was working better than before. Power levels had stabilized at 127% of normal capacity. Heat dispersion had improved by almost 40%. The makeshift human repairs, cobbled together from primitive Earth technology, had somehow improved on Galaxian engineering standards that had been refined over centuries. This is impossible, Nabi whispered, antenna twitching rapidly. Captain Tejo stood beside the engineer, watching the same readings with a mixture of relief and confusion. Run a complete diagnostic. There must be an error in the monitoring systems. Nabi's fingers danced across the floating symbols, initiating a full system check. After several minutes, the results appeared before them. No errors detected, Captain. The human repair is actually functioning at higher efficiency than our original components. Their use of magnetic fields generated through mechanical rotation has created an unexpected resonance with our quantum systems. Taijo touched the side of the repair unit cautiously. The pressure cookers from Hansu's kitchen, now integrated with the ship's advanced technology, hummed with energy. How could primitive beings with no space travel accomplish this? He wondered aloud. I believe it's because they approach problems differently, Nabi suggested. They use physical interaction and improvisation, where we rely on standardized systems and remote interfaces. They created solutions we never considered because our education would dismiss such approaches as archaic. Captain Tejo nodded slowly. Prepare a detailed report for High Command. This encounter must be documented fully. 2 days later, Han Su and Do Jun had returned to their normal routines, or at least they were trying to. After meeting aliens and helping repair a spacecraft, fixing tractors and car engines felt different somehow. The world seemed both smaller and vastly larger at the same time. Do you think they made it home? Do Jun asked as they closed the shop for the evening. Han Su wiped grease from her hands. I hope so. They promised not to tell anyone about us, just like we promised not to tell about them. Speaking of which, Do Jun said, lowering his voice, Mrs. Park asked me 3 times today what government agency we were working for. People are curious. Just keep saying it's classified, Han Su suggested. Eventually they'll lose interest. But as they left the shop, neither noticed the small metallic object that hovered briefly above the building before darting away into the evening sky. Millions of miles away, in the central chamber of the Galaxian High Command, Captain Tejo's report created an uproar. The 9 members of the Command Council viewed the data with increasing alarm. An undocumented intelligent species with this level of innovative capability poses significant concerns, said Elder Jinsu, the eldest council member. They have no space travel yet created repairs that improved upon our technology using cooking devices and vehicle parts. They could advance rapidly once exposed to galactic knowledge, added another council member. History shows that adaptable species often become unpredictable once they join the wider community. The head of science, Director Sungo, studied the engine performance data carefully. I recommend immediate but discreet observation. We need to understand how these humans think and what drives their unusual approach to technology. The Council voted unanimously to approve a scientific observation mission to Earth. Small, nearly invisible drones were dispatched to monitor human activities, with special focus on the small Montana town where first contact had occurred. Meanwhile, the Star Wonder continued its journey through space, its enhanced engine performance attracting unwanted attention. Near the edge of the Nilmeri system, a patrol ship from the Varaxian Collective picked up the unusual energy signature. Scan that merchant vessel, ordered Commander Curie of the Varaxian Patrol. It's Galaxian design but emitting energy patterns I've never seen before. The Varaxians, longtime rivals of the Galaxians in trade and territory, were always looking for technological advantages. The scan results showed something unexpected, technology that didn't match any known Galaxian patterns. Follow that ship, Commander Curie ordered. I want to know where they got those engine modifications. Back on Earth, strange things began happening around Han Su's repair shop. Customers reported seeing unusual lights in the sky at night. The town's electrical systems experienced brief, unexplained fluctuations. Internet searches related to spacecraft or aliens from shop computers resulted in immediate disconnections. Han Su first noticed something was wrong when Mrs. Park mentioned seeing someone taking pictures of the repair shop early in the morning. I thought it was strange, Mrs. Park said while dropping off a broken toaster. A man in a dark suit, just standing across the street with a camera. When I waved, he walked away quickly. Later that week, Do Jun discovered tiny metal objects, no larger than insects, around the property. They looked like nothing made on Earth, with surfaces that seemed to shift color when viewed from different angles. I found 3 more today, Do Jun told Han Su, showing her a small container where he had collected the devices. They're always near the shop or our houses, never anywhere else in town. Han Su examined one under a magnifying glass. It had no visible seams or screws, just a perfectly smooth surface with microscopic patterns etched into it. They're watching us, she said quietly. The Galaxians, or maybe someone else. What do we do? Han Su considered their options. Contacting authorities would mean breaking their promise of secrecy. Besides, who would believe them? For now, we collect these when we find them, and we act normal. But normal was becoming increasingly difficult. Han Su found herself looking at everyday objects differently, seeing potential uses beyond their intended purpose. A simple toaster now represented possibilities for energy transfer. Car parts sparked ideas about propulsion systems. The universe had expanded in her mind, and there was no going back. One evening, as Han Su worked late in the shop, the computer suddenly turned on by itself. Text appeared on the screen. Caution. You are being monitored by multiple parties. The repairs you created have drawn attention. Han Su stared at the message. Captain Taejo, she typed. Not safe to identify. Your innovation has created unexpected consequences. Others seek your knowledge. Be vigilant. Before she could respond, the message disappeared and the computer shut down. Han Su tried to restart it, but it wouldn't power on again. The next morning, a black car with tinted windows parked across from the repair shop. Two men in suits watched as Han Su opened for business. At the same time, 3 more of the tiny metal objects appeared on the roof overnight. Do-jun arrived looking worried. I think someone broke into my house last night. Nothing was taken, but things were moved around. Han Su nodded grimly. Something bigger is happening. Our simple repair job has started something we don't understand. She looked out the window at the black car, then up at the sky. Their brief encounter with the stars had changed everything. The question now was what would come next, and whether Earth was ready for it. The morning started like any other in the small Montana town. Han Su opened her repair shop, greeted Do-jun, and began working on Mrs. Park's tractor engine. 6 months had passed since their encounter with the Galaxians. The strange watchers and mysterious devices had eventually disappeared, and life had almost returned to normal. Almost. Then 3 black SUVs pulled up outside the shop. Men in dark suits stepped out, followed by someone who was clearly not human. Though disguised in a long coat and hat, the blue skin and extra set of eyes were visible to anyone looking closely. They're back, Do-jun whispered. A man in a suit entered first. Miss Han Su, I'm Agent Wilson with the United States government. We need to speak with you about a matter of global importance. Before Han Su could respond, a familiar figure stepped through the doorway. Captain Taejo. He looked different in daylight, his blue skin more vibrant, his antenna now adorned with small metallic ornaments. Hello, Han Su, Taejo said, his voice no longer requiring translation. We have returned, officially this time. Within hours, Han Su's small repair shop became the center of humanity's first official contact with alien life. Government officials arrived. News helicopters circled overhead. The town's residents gathered outside, watching in amazement as more Galaxians emerged from their vehicles. In the town hall, hastily converted into a meeting room, Taejo explained why they had returned. Your repair changed everything, he said, addressing not just Han Su and Do-jun, but Earth officials as well. The improvements you made to our engine using simple Earth materials have revolutionized Galaxian engineering. Our scientists have spent months studying your approach. Another Galaxian, introduced as High Commander Geo, stepped forward. We have implemented what we now call human method engineering across our fleet. Efficiency has improved by an average of 35%. Problems that plagued our systems for decades have been solved using principles derived from your repair. Han Su looked embarrassed. We just used what we had available. Exactly, said Jiho, antenna quivering with excitement. That is the brilliance we never considered. Our entire education system teaches engineers to follow established patterns. We design remotely through interfaces, never touching the machinery. You showed us a different path. The Earth officials looked stunned. They had prepared for many scenarios regarding first contact, but not one where humans were technologically valuable to a spacefaring civilization. The Galactic Consortium, an alliance of 17 spacefaring species, has sent us to extend a formal invitation, Taejo continued. Earth is being offered membership as innovation specialists. The room erupted in shocked conversations. When quiet returned, a human official asked, "Why the special status? Surely we should enter as any new species would." High Commander Jiho's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "Because you are unique. After studying humans secretly for 6 months, we discovered something extraordinary. Your species' approach to problem-solving exists nowhere else in known space." The Galaxians played a holographic presentation showing how human jury reading and improvisation had no parallel among other species, where advanced civilizations developed standardized solutions requiring specific resources. Humans created makeshift repairs with whatever materials were available. "This thinking is revolutionary to us," explained Jiho. "In a galaxy where resources are increasingly scarce, the ability to repurpose and adapt materials is immensely valuable." Not everyone in the galaxy was pleased with this development. The presentation showed footage of protests on other worlds. Species with insect-like features or reptilian appearances held signs with alien writing. Some members of the consortium fear humanity's unpredictability. Tajo acknowledged. The Varaxians in particular have filed formal objections, claiming that humans will disrupt established technological hierarchies. "They're afraid of us?" Dojun asked, amazed. "We haven't even left our own solar system." "They fear what you represent," corrected Jiho. "A different way of thinking. Your approach challenges thousands of years of established methods." 3 months later, after intense diplomatic negotiations, Earth accepted membership in the Galactic Consortium. Han Su, whose simple repair had started everything, was chosen as Earth's first ambassador. "I'm just a mechanic," she protested when officials approached her. "Exactly why it must be you," the United Nations Secretary General told her. "You represent the very quality that makes humanity valuable to them: practical problem solving." Han Su's first journey to the consortium headquarters on a distant world called Narabi was documented across Earth. Billions watched as she boarded a Galaxian ship, Dojun at her side as her technical advisor. The consortium council chamber was a vast space with representatives from 17 species seated in tiered sections. Some looked almost human, others were utterly alien, beings of crystalline structure, others that seemed more like plants than animals, and some that existed partially in energy form. Standing before them, Han Su felt small but remained calm. She had faced impossible repairs her entire life. This was just another problem to solve. "The Council recognizes Earth's representative," announced a tall, silver-skinned being. "Please explain why humans should receive special status as innovation specialists." Instead of a formal speech, Han Su removed her watch and placed it on the pedestal before her. "This stopped working yesterday," she said simply. "In your advanced societies, you would discard it and replace it with a new one, correct?" Most council members indicated agreement. Han Su took out a small toolkit from her pocket. As the council watched, she opened the watch, identified a loose gear, and repaired it using a tiny piece of wire from her own hairpin. "Humans don't see broken things as failures to be discarded," she explained, showing the now functioning watch. "We see opportunities to create solutions with whatever is available." She walked to a nearby Varaxian representative, whose species had most strongly objected to Earth's membership. "Your energy stabilizers use crystalline matrices that burn out quickly, correct?" she asked. The Varaxian reluctantly confirmed this was their greatest engineering challenge. Han Su smiled. "On Earth, we would solve this by using layered materials with different thermal properties, like this." She sketched a simple design on a datapad. "It's similar to how we build certain cooking pots." The Varaxian engineers studied her drawing, antennae twitching in surprise as they realized it might work. Over the following year, repair thinking became Earth's greatest export to the stars. Han Su established a training center on Narabi, where engineers from across the galaxy came to learn human problem-solving approaches. The mixing of advanced alien technology with practical human ingenuity led to breakthroughs in multiple fields. Earth itself changed too. Carefully controlled introductions of alien technology improve human life without disrupting societal development. Han Su insisted that humans needed to maintain their resourcefulness rather than becoming dependent on advanced solutions. On the anniversary of first contact, Han Su stood in her old repair shop, now preserved as a historic site. Captain Taejo joined her, along with representatives from 12 species. "Did you ever imagine this would happen when you fixed our engine?" Taejo asked. Han Su shook her head, watching alien children and human children playing together outside. "I just wanted to help someone in trouble." "That," said Taejo, "is perhaps the most human characteristic of all." In the years that followed, the phrase human solution became common throughout the galaxy, describing any elegant fix created with limited resources. Earth became known not for having the most advanced technology, but for teaching others how to think beyond their technological constraints. And it all began with a damaged alien ship, a rural repair shop, and the human ability to see possibilities in everyday objects that others had never imagined. The end.